Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on NITRO Studio presented by Crow Canyon. We're just waiting for a few more people to join, but we'll get going any moment here. This webinar will have some slides at the beginning, and then we'll jump right into the presentation and show you this NITRO Studio in live action. I think we'll just get going. As people join, they can join as they join. First of all, in this webinar, if you have questions in your screen, as you may well know, there's a question box where you can enter in questions, and we'll try and answer those as the webinar goes on, or we'll communicate with you after the webinar on that. So feel free to ask any questions and stay in touch with us about this. I am Scott Restivo, President and CEO of Crow Canyon Software. We have been doing SharePoint and application development for almost 20 years. SharePoint ever since it came out in 2007, 2013, 2016, and also big push in the last 5 or 6 years on Office 365. We have been building business applications, out-of-box solutions, which are your standard core business applications. We are now introducing the NITRO Studio, which is what this webinar is about. And we also do a lot of custom solutions in the SharePoint and Office 365 space. So as we develop these applications, we have a number of these. They run on SharePoint on-premises as well as Office 365. Core business applications like help desk, asset management, customer service, things that provide real value to organizations, running basic processes that they might have been previously doing in email or spreadsheets or a legacy program that got outdated. So we have a lot of those. And what happened over the years is as we built these applications, we built them on top of SharePoint. Now, SharePoint out of the box, we found, and the same for Office 365, SharePoint Online or SharePoint on-premises, we found that out of the box, as we built these applications for our customers, we felt that SharePoint had a set of basic capabilities that were good. They were there, but they weren't enough. I mean, it has sites, libraries, permissions. It makes a very good foundation to start from. And people are ready to log into it with single sign-on to Office 365, and it's mobile ready. So there's a good base to start with, but it's not enough. And we found that SharePoint needs more. And one of the areas that came up are like forms, workflows, columns, email synchronization, database integration, reporting, things like this that really are the key elements of an application. We were given, as we built our out-of-the-box applications, and as we were given requirements from our many customers, we found that SharePoint did not meet the needs as it was out of the box. So we developed these tools, and we use these to underlie our applications and custom solutions for many years. And we started calling it the NITRO layer. And the NITRO layer has now evolved into the NITRO Studio, and we're looking to provide that, commercialize that as a layer unto itself so people can create their own applications using the same tools and capabilities that we found were needed in our applications. And that way you can enhance SharePoint and Office 365 to do application creation. Areas we focused on here were forms, portals, the UI, UX, where people are going to engage with the applications. We want to engage and empower users. Those are the forms and portals. We'll go into that somewhat. There's workflows and processes. Streamlining and automating business processes is critical to making an application successful and providing the productivity and efficiency gains that make it worth investing in creating an application that's going to streamline the operations in your organization. And reporting and analytics to drive a continuous cycle of improvement so you can look back and say, where were the bottlenecks in this process? Where can we improve? What can we do better? And then have this iterative process of improvement going on. So this NITRO layer has become the NITRO Studio. We've been using it to build our applications and custom development, a way to enhance SharePoint and Office 365, and now we're making it available to the public, and it has a lot of really, really cool and interesting tools inside it, and that's what we'll go into somewhat today. I mean, it's a large subject to cover, a lot of possibilities. Depends what you want to do with it, but I'll cover what I can, and then like I was saying earlier, we can do questions or meet on you one-on-one, do demos, and talk more about what the possibilities are here. Of course, if you're interested in the out-of-the-box applications, that's an area we can go into with you also. So NITRO Studio it's a enhancements to SharePoint Office 365, 18 or so apps that improve the capabilities, forms, workflows, reporting, many other things. It allows quick development of applications because all the coding, it's no code, all the coding's in those. You just have to use the utilities to configure what you want on there for forms and workflows. You can build a simple or a complex application. It depends what level you want to do. And it doesn't interfere, for the most part, it doesn't interfere with other SharePoint tools, third-party tools. Like if you're both trying to use the same form designer on the same list, it might cause an issue. You have to choose one or the other. But generally speaking, for the most part, it works well in conjunction with any other third-party SharePoint tools out there. So let's go into the live demo and not delay this anymore so you can see the NITRO Studio and Power Portal in action here. So I'll switch over to that. Okay. What we're looking at here is NITRO Studio for a site called Customer Service. These apps right here, this site right here, is the app, so you can access them and start working on the configuration of the site from here. The site itself is something we have already configured over here, and you'll see it as a kind of developed customer service application. And what I'm using it in this webinar as a demo is to show how the NITRO Studio is underlying and providing the enhancements and foundation to this application here. So we'll go back and forth between the Studio apps and this application. So these Studio apps are right here. We developed this nice looking interface so that you can work with the apps and then use it to configure your application. We have information about each particular app over here. So you can see that in this NITRO Studio screen. There's an admin home. There's more about it. We're going to put some news in here. We don't have anything at the moment, but some news. It tells you about your subscription. So let's go into some of these elements that we have here in the NITRO Studio. There, as I said, there's forms, workflows, reporting. There's also much more. There's a portal, which is part of the UI UX to provide users with a way to engage with the application, not necessarily through a traditional SharePoint backend. There's also many secondary applications. We call these the primary ones because these are the ones that do forms, workflows, reporting, and the portal. These are secondary ones, but very important also. Maybe you have an advanced approval, multi-level approval processes you want to implement. Advanced lookup, where you're looking up from one list to another, cross-site lookups, lookups with search in them, all kinds of ways. You can look up and integrate different data inside the SharePoint together. Branding, if you want a different look and feel. Cascaded lookup, where you have your city, state, your state, city, or your category issue type, or your account contact, things that can cascade off each other. Conditional formatting to make the list look and highlight different areas of the list as you look at a list view, whether you want high priority in color or have progress bars and KPIs. Custom actions, I'll go into that. It's kind of related to workflows. Email manager and email sync. This is where we have the email integration component that's going on. You can send an email in, it becomes a ticket, or a request or an item or a complaint. In the system, we have email manager, where you can send emails back and forth and maintain the email history and send out canned responses. This is all part of the NITRO Studio, giving you all these capabilities that you can use as little or as much as you want in order to build the application you need to meet the specific requirements that you have for your organization. And once you get involved with one, it's likely you'll start to build another or two or three, because there's many needs for this request and complaint, issue, inquiry, question, service desk type application in organizations. And this gives you the power to do that. There's also many others here. Let's just jump right into the forms and start working on, I can show you some things in real time here, what's going on. So let's look at the ticket that we have going on here. This is a customer service for this imaginary glue company, and people send in complaints, whether it's accounts or contacts or customers. They're sending in complaints or questions or suggestions or whatever. They're trying to resolve some issues. So we have a form here. This is a NITRO form that we developed for this site. And it has a bar at the top with some various actions and capabilities that are part of NITRO Studio. It also has these tabs in here. This could be a replacement for InfoPath. It could be a replacement for the standard SharePoint list forms. So you have a lot of flexibility here. Now, right now we have 4 tabs right here that are going on. So let me show you some of the capabilities, and this we'll go into various elements of the NITRO forms as a start into introduction to this studio. So if I open this up in edit mode, and I go here, I want to show you the dynamic element of this. So we can go, right now it's showing these 4 tabs account. Here, by clicking this, we are now showing the consumer tab instead of the account tab. So now we have consumer name, email, phone, and we have account over here. Now, what the specifics are of what this account and customer account and consumer don't really matter as much as the fact that it's dynamic. Not only can a tab show and hide, also different fields here can show and hide as we make different selections. And that can be based not only on selections here that are made, but also on who the user is that's coming in. You can decide to show and hide tabs. Some amazing amount of flexibility here. Now, what if we want to add another tab onto this system here? So let's go do that. For that, we go to NITRO Studio Apps. We go to Forms. And we're in the customer service site. We're going to choose the tickets list here. So here's the tickets list. And we're going to go there, and here's our Forms Designer. The Forms Designer has a lot of areas, capabilities to it. It's quite an interesting, very interesting tool to use. There's various functions on the left, various functions on the right, and the bar. It takes once you get familiar with it, you can do a lot with this in terms of how the form looks and feels and what forms are on it. Right now, what we're going to do here is go to the edit form. We're going to go to the edit form. There's a new, every form in SharePoint has a new form, which opens when you first create it, edit form when you're editing it, and display form when you're displaying it. Now, we also have an option in our form settings where you could use the same form for all three of those modes: new, display, and edit. In this case, we separated it out because maybe we want different fields on different views of the ticket, depending if it's a new ticket, it's a ticket's being displayed, or a ticket being edited. A lot of flexibility here in this Forms Designer. So now we're going to add a tab in here to the Edit tab. We want to get more information about the problem that the person has. So you can just drag the tab control there, put it here wherever you want. Here, you can rename it over here. I'm going to call this additional info. There we go. Apply that. So now we have a new tab. Nothing's on it yet. So we have to go to Forms Controls here and add on the controls we want to add on. So we're going to add on brand. We're going to add on product. This is how easy it is just to add on a new tab with the different fields you want on here. And it's that just drag and drop. It's that simple. It's not much to it. And then you can, of course, if you said, oh, I want order up here instead of there, it's just moving around like that. It's just drag and drop. Very, very easy to do. So we want to go here to where purchase. Okay, so that we've just added another tab that has brand, product, lot numbers, because we want to know more information about the complaint. We want to know what product and what brand. We want to know maybe the lot number they read off the bottle of glue or whatever, where they bought it, when they bought it, that kind of stuff. And of course, you can create your own fields. You go here and create a column, add more and more in here. There's many other columns here. They're all listed. All the ones on the list are listed here. You can drag and drop them right in, on, off. If you put it there and you don't want it, you just click the X and remove it. Very easy to do here. So now we go here and we publish this form. The form has just been added. What we did here is added a new tab to the edit form. So if we go back to the tickets list now, and we open this up in edit mode, we have another tab here called additional information. That was not there in when I first opened this like a minute or two ago. Now it's here. And additional information. This already has a brand and product. This is a cascaded lookup, which is part of the Forms Designer. So you have a cascaded lookup deciding which brand, and as you choose the different brands, it will give you the different products that are associated with that brand. So that's another feature of this Forms Designer. So we looked at the dynamic element, we looked at adding tabs, we looked at adding fields and on the tab. So this is just the start of what can be done with this form here. So now we can, I'll just cancel that for now and go back to the Forms Designer and show you some of the other things that can be done here with this. So in the layout and themes in the Forms Designer, we could have decided we wanted this to be sections and not tabs. So here's a way to do it with sections. And sections could be how you want to display them: expand first, expand all, whether you want a line there or a column, just a simple line instead of a label at the top, what the name of the section is. Again, these can also be permissioned also to show or not show, and dynamically or according to certain permission levels there. So there's a lot you can do in your design of your form. Now, another thing you could do is make it 2 columns if you want. You can have this field be 2 columns. This tab, let's do it on this one. We'll go here and we'll call it 2 columns and apply that. So now it's in 2 columns. Maybe that's a better way of presenting this information. That's perhaps one thing you might want to do. You can also go here to related items, show you something else here. This is 1 column, but the labels are horizontal. Well, maybe they're better being vertical. So you go here and apply it, and now you have a vertical alignment. It gives you more space. So you have a lot of flexibility in how this form is going to look and what you want to have shown and how you want it shown here in this Forms Designer. So we can just go here and publish this again, and we have all those changes will be made in the form going forward. So let's go check on that once it's done. And we go here to edit this form, this list item. And here we have the additional information is two columns like we made it, and the related items are vertical above this. So each column is wider than it would be if it was horizontal. So that's a few interesting things. Of course, you might want to rearrange this. You put product down here, lot number up there, so like the cascaders are on top of each other. I mean, all kinds of fun things you can do with that to make it more presentable to how you need to have, how you want the form to look. Another aspect of this whole thing is that you can have themes for the form, and the themes will put it into different colors. If you want here, you can switch around to different colors, like deep purple for some reason. It can be purple, green, all kinds of ways you can do this. And you can also, in our global settings, create your own theme here. Let's turn this one amber for see what that's like. Blue, gray, brown, any of these colors here, it doesn't matter. Anyways, up here in the global settings, you can come in here and create a theme. Here's the themes are listed. And then you can go in and create one if you want to dig into the CSS, just because there is quite a bit of capability and flexibility in the Form Designer. And like I said, this is one of the tools in NITRO Studio, and it depends how simple or complex you want to go with it. And complex, if you want to go, you have a need to go into modify some of these things, create your own theme, you certainly can. But the point here is that we're trying to give our users, our co-creators, as we call them, in the NITRO Studio, people who work with NITRO Studio and work together with us and how this Studio Forms Designer should have in it, then we'll give you these capabilities so you can go and have independence and flexibility in how you want your forms to look. So let's go back to the blue-gray one here. Many other options here to do this. So we'll go here and publish this again. And, that's kind of a light introduction, you could say, to the Forms Designer. There's a couple other things I could show you here. Let me do that. Well, I'll do it when I go back to custom actions. Okay, that's published. I'll go into this when we go into the actions in a moment, but let's look at some of the advanced capabilities here. Now, on this form here, we have other advanced capabilities. So one is that you can use autofill. That means you're going to decide if a column is requester or who's submitting the ticket or the agent who's handling the ticket. You can have it fill in other information from various data sources as to what information it's going to gather here. So it's going to fill in the columns department, email, and phone for the agent with the user properties from a particular set of data. It might be from Active Directory, it might be from different areas. You can map it together to get the user auto filling. You have the user information list, user profile, custom. You could use a custom list where you're pulling information in. So all kinds of possibilities with how fields on the form are automatically populated based on a selection in another field. This is involving people in groups and providing in contact information into there. Lookup settings is a similar idea where you can have looking up information from one to another. In this webinar, I don't have time to dig into all the details of this, but if you're interested, I'm just, we can talk more. This is just giving you kind of a light view of the capabilities, of the advanced capabilities of this forms designer. Associated items will link items together. That's some of what you saw with the email history, associated item, and time tracking. That's here on related items. That's how that's set up, so that you can be pulling information from another list and showing it as related to this particular item on this form. Many things you can do in custom JavaScript, custom CSS. So a lot of things you can do. Let's go back to the form and take a look at it here in edit mode. And now when it comes up, we see that there is, the additional information tabs here, the work order. If you want to rearrange this, go ahead. Knowledge base, related items, and these are pulling from different lists and pulling in. If there's an email history, it'd be listed here. If there's associated tasks with the tickets, it'd be listed here. If there's time tracking, it'd be listed here. These are all associated items that are used in the form to pull in. A lot of power in that forms tool, that forms designer tool. One other thing that I'll go into right now are these actions. So when you have save and cancel down here, you can substitute in different actions for that and create your own action of what happens on submit, and also write a small script that will happen when you press a button inside the form itself. So let me go into that a little bit more. You can decide to hide the save button, hide the cancel button, and put other buttons in here from the script actions. And to do that, you would go here to the actions and simply put in a submit action down here. And you can decide where you want that to be. You want it on the bottom action pane on the right, perhaps. And now you can go in here and hide the save button, and now you have substituted in a new button here that will do whatever actions you tell it. Well, here we have it highlighted, and you can see on the right, there's the title. I'm going to call it submit. You can make it an image or an icon, depending on what you want to put there. Different icons. There's a list of icons you can put in, or you can upload your own image if you wish. And then certain functions we provide, and there's a page here that goes into the examples. We provide various functions you can do. Now, this is getting more into, if you really want to, like I say, simple or complex, is more complex capabilities where you're going to go and say, okay, when you press this button, with the submit action will happen, but it also will run these other functions on it. So it makes it really interesting, a way to make this form incredibly useful and applicable to your particular situation. That's as easy as it is to do that. I can go into that more. Hopefully that's given you some concept of the range of possibilities in just this one tool in Studio, which is the Forms Designer here. So going back to this a little bit here, we can have the script action could show up anywhere on the form like that. The script action is a little different than submit. Submit is when it's going to run a script if you want it, and a custom action if you want it, and then submit the ticket. A script action is going to work in real time. The reason for this is that it can read the information in a field before the ticket is saved and then take an action. Well, when would you need that? Okay, we had many membership and banking type situations where people would type in a account number or membership number, and then in real time, they want to populate the information into the list from a database that's outside of SharePoint. So the script would open up the database, run a SQL query, pull in the data, and then pop it into the particular fields, such as, your account is 1234. Well, that's Bob Smith from, all the other information about that person would come from the database and be put in there. So all kinds of cool stuff you can do with this scripting and submit actions here. So I think I've, kind of shown a good amount of the Forms Designer. There's more to it, but at least give you a sense of the range of capabilities. Probably a little bit overwhelming in some ways, but it's just showing you that there's a lot of power built into this studio, because it comes not from some idea we had. We sat around a coffee shop and thought about it. This comes from 20 years of application development and a good 10, 12, 15 years, whenever 2007 came out. So like about at least 12 years ago of SharePoint and subsequent Office 365 development for thousands of organizations around the world. This is where all this comes from, not just some theory. So all right, so we covered the forms. Another thing you want to do is run workflows. That's a very common feature of a program, is to run a workflow. Well, workflows can happen when an item's created, when an item's due date is nearing, when maybe you want to incorporate some kind of SLA action, service level agreement actions in there. All kinds of possibilities with these workflows. Very, very flexible tool to do that. I was going to show creating an escalate workflow right here. An escalation workflow would be when a ticket, the due date has passed, we want to escalate it. So maybe we give it on the due date or one day after, we can decide. So we're going to escalation workflow, we'll just call it, whatever the name, doesn't matter too much, but we're going to be on that tickets list. And what we're going to do is when an item is based on a datetime field, and we're going to base it on due date. Okay, so in a workflow, you have your trigger, you have your conditions, and you have your actions. So here the trigger is when the due date is, let's say, I don't know, 2 hours after. Why not? It could be whatever you want. It could be minutes, it could be days, weeks, before, it could be before, after. Really, whatever suits you. You can repeat it X number of times every such minutes or hours if you want. I'm just going to have it do it 2 hours after. Due date has passed 2 hours after, and it could also run just during business time. Okay, that's good. We're going to escalate it. But we want a condition on here. We want to escalate every ticket. If the request status is closed, equals closed, or whatever name you have for it, completed, resolved, whatever, doesn't matter. We're going to, if it's not equal to close, actually, we're going to do this. Because if it's closed, there's no sense to escalate. It's done, right? So why escalate? But if it's not, you can. Now you can have other conditions, multiple conditions. You can have and or, but in this case, we'll keep it nice and simple. And what are we going to do? What is an escalation? Okay, so let's go here. We have in the workflow various actions that we can do. We can create other items. We can update this item or other items. We can delete items. We can send emails and various other actions we can take. In this case of an escalation, what we're going to do, we're going to add an action where we update the item, and we're going to set the priority to high. Set priority to high on the current item, and we'll simply go here and map priority to high, and we're going to call it high. Okay, that's all there's to it. Save that, and now we have set priority to high as one of the actions, the first action that will run when the due date, 2 hours after the due date, if the request status is not equal to close. Let's add another one. We're going to do this one. We're going to set the due date to today. No, set due date's already to today. We're going to reassign it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to reassign it. I mean, you can do whatever you want. What's escalation to you? So let's reassign it to Pavan, for instance. Okay, so we go here. This means you can set up whatever actions you think are right for you to put in there. So and now this could be more complex in the sense that you pull it from different fields in different lists and build these kind of formulas. But for now, we'll keep it simple. So we're now have done two things. We set prior to high, reassign to Pavan, and let's send an email out. So to notify people. So it's going to be send email to James. And for this, we have a template. The template is the escalation email template. We created that. And if we can create a new one if we wanted right here, or edit this existing one, this existing escalation template will say overdue, ticket, give you the case ID. It's pulling variables from the ticket itself, that particular item, sticking them in there into the subject or into the body. And you can put whatever you want here. You can make bold if you wanted something bold, rich text formatting, include hyperlinks, things like that. So there's all kinds of possibilities you can do here with this mail template, but let's just go with that for now. And then we're going to send it to a particular name, users in field, users in groups. It could be sent to a whole group. It could be sent to individuals. So in this case, we'll just send it to one person and do OK. And it's going to be from the system account here. Now, you can also send it to somebody in a field. Say you want to inform the previous assigned staff. Say you want to inform the requester. Many variations on this that you want to do here. So now we have three actions that take place 2 hours after the due date passes if the status is not closed. So there's a lot of variations you can do here. If you want to do other actions, different kinds of send mail, you can have multiple send mail actions. You can change the order of them, what order they execute in. You can add more. You can revise these at any time. For now, we'll just save them. And we have a workflow created here, and it's now listed here in our configured workflows of escalation workflow. And I can't really show you that until something was 2 hours after due date, but it does take effect like that. But let's go back here and look at something else we can do. We have the list of tickets. Here's the list of workflows, and in there is the tickets list, item added. Well, when an item's added, a lot can happen. In this case, this was just set up simply with a notify account rep. It's an account rep for the item from the, whoever's sending in the ticket, the complaint or whatever, the question or delivery problem has to notify an account. So if the type is account, we're going to send email to the account rep like this. And, the account rep is a field that's pulled in from the system and put in place. So this is to show you that there's a lot of capabilities on how these workflows are set up. But at the same time, I don't think this is that complex at all to use, and very easy to set up workflows and modify them and make them as complex as you want. Let's add another simpler complex as you want. So let's go add another one on. Are we doing on time here? Okay, pretty good. So much to show in this. It's like there's so much to cover. I want forms, workflows. There's still reporting, custom actions, the Power Portal. So here, if we wanted another one like more specific on item creation workflow, you can do that. And then we could, on the tickets list, whenever an item's created, however the item's created, it could be from directly in SharePoint, it could be from an email coming in, it could be from the Power Portal, which I'll show in a minute. Item is created. And then I was just going to say, here's one that's often used. Well, auto reply is one that's, send mail to requester. That's pretty simple. I won't go into that due to the time constraints of the webinar, but I'll show you one that is kind of interesting. Say you knew the category on this ticket, you could then come in and decide that you're going to, if the category equals a complaint, you're going to send it to some specific, you're going to notify, or actually could even assign it to a particular group. Not only notify, but also assign it to a particular group. You're going to say assign complaint, whatever. The name doesn't matter, but just to make it clear, to group, the complaint group, right, on the current item. And then you could go in and decide that the value of assigned staff. So this is auto assigned going on right here. It's going to go to the Crow Canyon service group or whatever, whatever group you want, whatever the name is, and it's going to go there, and that's going to be automatically assigned to them. Okay, so I'll cancel that for now. Just want to show you that, and move on to other aspects of the studio. That I hope you can get the sense that on item added, on item modified, whether status change, priority change, or something like that, or on a timer-based system, there's so many different workflows you can run, whether you're going to update the item with different reassignment, priority, due date, whatever you want, changes you want to make. You can set different categories to automatically assign it, send auto replies. When the ticket's complete, you can do all kinds of actions too, like notify the user or notify somebody else or ask them if this is truly resolved. Whatever. You can do all kinds of really interesting things with the workflow manager. Now, going on with other aspects of this NITRO Studio, we can take a look at reporting. Quickly, we'll just do a quick look at reporting. So it comes with a reporting tool. Here's one, that report I have, tickets by brand. There's many other tickets here, many other reports here, incoming tickets by month, closed tickets by month, open tickets by category and priority. These are ones that you can create. These are not, you're not locked into those reports at all. If whatever reports you find are useful, you can create with our reporting tool in the NITRO Studio. This is the report manager where you actually go in and configure new reports or create or modify existing reports here. For instance, here's the tickets by brand that we were just looking at. If I open that one up, you come in and you have a report here of tickets by brand. These are the brands we have. And what you can do here is maybe you want to change it to a table. Maybe you want to use a different kind of chart. instead of a column, you want to use a bar chart. So, once you save it, that will become part of the report from then on. So you're just simply choosing the column header, the column name, and you're going to save that, decide if you want to, what theme you want to use. If you don't want to use the default theme, there's another theme you can use on the report. You can use different themes if you want, and whether you're going to show it in that report center or not. So the report manager gives you the ability to create any kind of reports you want and show them in that report center. Also, you can add reports to pages in the site. So you can decide where you want to add the reports. By that, I mean this. If you go here and look at this page called Manager Dashboard, one page, we have added reports to these pages based on that. So you create the report, and now you're adding it to pages and creating this really cool kind of dashboard interface for whomever, whether it's staff, managers, department heads, user. It really doesn't matter who it's for, but it's the fact that you can embed these reports in it. So you have your report center here running, accessible if you want in the top nav bar. You can just go in and easily click from report to report to report. And then you could go out and save these, export to the PDF, email it, print it. You can go here and go into manage reports and say, well, I want to go in and modify a report. So you go in and modify it or create a new one. And then you may want to add that report to a page on your SharePoint system. And that can be done simply by going in here, deciding what page it is and where you want to put it on the page and zone index, that kind of thing. And you'll have the report showing up on the pages. Very quick overview of Report Center. There's a lot more to it. You might have questions on it. I'm not getting to the questions till later, it looks like. Somebody's asked, well, I'll get to that question in a moment. Okay, so here we are in this reporting. That's another part of the NITRO Studio. So we covered these three already. We did a little bit with cascaded lookup with that brand and product list I showed you. Let's look at the portal. Let's take a moment to look at that before we get too far along here. The Power Portal is a very interesting component that gives users the ability to engage with the system without using the back-end system. So here's like the normal back-end looks something like this. Of course, our branding tool can make it look a little bit different, but basically it looks like this. But end users might want something that's a little bit more friendly and engaging to use. So let's take a look at the portal that goes with this site. Okay, this is the Power Portal, quite substantially different than the back-end SharePoint. And the idea is to simplify it so that you have, the users have just what they need. Submit a ticket, view a ticket, get a knowledge base, look at some FAQs, maybe have quick way to create a particular kind of ticket. Now the thing is, this look and feel is completely configurable by our portal settings, and this shows up for any admin, the portal settings. Normal end users don't get it. So let me show you an example of another portal here that's a little bit different, and so the variation in the portal capability. So here's one which looks quite a bit different. It has a different picture in the back. It has different look, different logo, different, so there's variations that can go on as to how you want it to look. And that's just what's the cool thing for me about NITRO Studio is how flexible and adaptable it is to your particular situation. Maybe you want your logo up here. Maybe there's a particular picture that's relevant. The glue company, maybe I should put pictures of barrels of glue or something. I don't know, or caulks, whatever. But the idea is that you want your end users to feel engaged, empowered, and like intuitively friendly look, so they don't feel like they're going to some site that's completely separated from where they normally are doing their work. Now, a person would log into this with the same login as their Office 365, so they would just open the URL automatically if they're already logged in. We know who it is, and therefore, when you open up a ticket, it will fill in that information automatically based on your user information right here. Pulled from AD. Also, the form has different information that you can get and then fill in. And then also, if you go to view your tickets, you're only showing the tickets for you as the logged in person right here. So here you go, looking at it, and you can open it up and take a look at the ticket that was submitted and see the status. And you look at that. You can also go here and sort and group the views right here. You want to see all open, closed, all tickets. You can send a comment back on the ticket. Now let's look at the portal setting. Oh no, before I do portal settings, let me look at the knowledge base. The knowledge base is some area we're growing a lot. This is one example of it, but we're moving into bots and AI and that kind of stuff with this. But right now, this is what it's showing right here. So it's simply put in a search, and it's going to give the user some articles that he or she can look at and decide if they're applicable to their problem, and hopefully solve it through some kind of self-service prior to entering in a ticket. Now, if we wanted to go in here and monkey around with this one a little bit, we could go into portal settings. And in portal settings, there's various sections where it helps you configure the portal. You can come in here and change the logo. You change the text, what we're calling this, IT Help Desk or whatever. You can change the footer section, the menu section, the background image. That's got that kind of wintry picture. You come in here and modify some of the pages. So let's go to this page of the submit ticket, new form. That's what we're doing. It's a new form. And take out the picture of that person there. Maybe if you want to put a different one, you could, but we're just going to hide that. Save it. And then go back here to the portal home. And now we submit a ticket. It should not have that picture of that person anymore. It doesn't. Okay. So we could also go in and monkey around with the sections and very similar to Nitro Forms Designer, monkey around with this and modify what the ticket form looks like in this portal. So the idea here is that there's a portal for end users to submit tickets and view their tickets without having the necessity for them to engage with the back end. It's also a security situation where what happens is this is running in a different site. They have access to this site to do these functions of submitting, viewing, and the tickets, and also searching a knowledge base, but they don't have access to the back end. So in some HR situations or some kind of situations, people want that kind of isolation from one system to the other. The other cool thing about this is that it is responsive. So you can come here, you can see it changing according to the size of your screen. And as you adapt the portal to the what you need done, what logos and icons you want here, you can make it even more visible or more compatible with the mobile device. But here's where you go in, you can submit a new ticket. So this can all be done on mobile right here. So you can come in and make the changes just using your finger, whatever, to put in information, type in things. So just like that, it's very mobile friendly, responsive design there, whether it's a tablet or a smartphone. Okay, that covers very briefly anyway the portal. And what I'm trying to show here in this webinar is the range of capabilities with the NITRO Studio. With the application development we've done, we use this to build our applications in Office 360 and SharePoint Office 365. And we feel like if this is available for you, you can take a simple SharePoint list, start with a site with a list, add a form to it, maybe add in some more columns, some more cascading, maybe have another list where you want to associate the things back and forth, tickets and assets or whatever. Then the workflows can kick in as to when this happens, do this. When that happens, do that. When this happens, these kind of different things, and then get some reporting out of it. Maybe you want to use the Power Portal, maybe you don't. And then that's going to give you really quite a enormous tool set. Somebody was asking about how this compares to Power Apps. Power Apps doesn't even come close to the amount of capabilities that are in this NITRO Studio. There's some limitations. We have a white paper on it too that I can send out to the person who's asking the question on that specifically, but there's a lot more capabilities in our NITRO Studio. It comes from real world application development experience, and these things are used in applications that are in place in critical situations in different organizations like power plants and government and education institutes and financial firms and things like that. So this isn't just, like it hasn't been used. This is in use. So giving you a lot of power in your hands to develop applications as simple or as complex as you want. But going into a little bit more here before the hour ends, it's been 45 minutes. One thing I like to show is the custom actions. So let's go in and look at the custom actions and do what we can here. First of all, as a background on custom actions, let's take a look back at the tickets list here. So when you open up a form, there is a bar at the top, and here are various actions, right? Well, printing is part of the Print Manager app. These ones right here with this kind of circle icon with the plus are custom actions. You can change that action icon if you want, but in this case we kept it that so you can see they're all custom actions. And the email is part of our email manager. So NITRO Studio has greatly enhanced the form here. The capabilities you have, just come in here, click, and you can define what actions these are going to take place when you're in this ticket. A really cool feature. Now we'll get to the custom actions in a second, but I also want to show you that these custom actions show up here. So you can have multiple, if they apply to multiple items, you can do batch actions. Some might apply only to one, like email, you know, those get grayed out because you're selecting multiple. You know, it's all very responsive to what's going on in the screen below. So you have that. You also can put something into the ECB here. It's called the edit control block, and then have it happen right here. So we'll do that right now with an action to show you another way to provide capabilities to the program. Workflows and actions. The difference is workflows are run on some kind of event. Items created, items modified, an item is deleted, a timer action is hit, for example. Those are events. These actions here are when the person is actually in the ticket and manually invoked, manually invoked actions, so that they happen right there when the ticket is going on. So let's go to the action and make that happen. Now, if we want, we could go to NITRO Studio and click Custom Actions, or just open it right here from this list. So let's do it from this list. Make it easy. Here's a custom action. We have the 3 ones you just saw there, self-assigned, closed, and assigned to someone are there. And then let's create a new custom action. And we seem to be picking on escalate here, so let's call it escalate. And you can have a tooltip text if you want. You can change the icon with your own upload if you want. And now where are you going to show it? You can use it in NITRO Forms, display form, which is when the ticket opens. And a control block is that right-hand click. List view ribbon is the ribbon at the top where the items is, and you can enable it for multiple items. And you have messages that say either your own or a default message is what happens when the action doesn't run. And when we thought this stuff out, you know, this is a lot here. So then the custom action will be maybe based on a certain condition. Maybe the action is only available to certain people. It's not available to everyone who opens the ticket, only certain staff members or whatever. So right now we won't put a condition on this, but we will put something to happen. So what's going to happen on a new action? Well, somewhat similar to the escalation workflow we just created, but this gives you ability to escalate immediately. Maybe the customer calls up and says, I need that done now. And you're okay, I better escalate it. And I'm going to update the list item to high priority, you know, so set priority to high. And I'm going here, predefined values, add a mapping, and I'm going to set the priority to high and high, like that, high, okay? That's simple. Again, you can have all these different functions going on. Let's keep it simple. And then we can go here, okay, we're going to do that. Set priority to high. And we're also going to go here, update the list item here. And this is set due date to today because the person called up and he needs it done today. They need it done today, so we're going to go here, due date. Due date is set to today, and that we can use a variable called today. Just click it in there, because you can be today plus 1, today minus, I don't know, today plus 2. That would give you a day in the future, but here we go, and now we have another one. And we can also send an email out to somebody and that says, you know, send email. Let's say send email to James. And it's going to be from the system account. I think there it is right there. And it's going to be to James. No, it could be, let's put a user on the column here, the assigned staff. Why not? Let's put assigned staff in here. Okay. And also we'll add somebody else, and we'll say, we'll go user in a group. Maybe he's the manager, and call it James. There it is, James Restivo. It's doing a search of the the active, the Office 365 directory. So we're going to use what template? We're going to use escalation email, and then let's see, we're going to assign it. Okay, include attachments to email it to history. Okay, let's do that. So when you push the button, it's going to set priority to high, due date to today, and send an email to James as well as the assigned staff. So send email to James and assigned staff. So that's what we'll do there. And that, so we know what it is, and then save it. So now when we open up this form, we have a fourth option here called escalate. So I go back to the tickets list here and come in and open this up. And I have escalate right here. Right now, the ticket, well, it shows up here, escalate. I put in an edit control block, so it shows up here, escalate. And it shows up on the items right here, escalate. I thought I had all kinds of ways I could escalate this ticket. Due date to today, priority to high. Let's do it. So then when you go run the escalation, it's doing all those things, sending emails out, closed. So send an email to the assigned staff. It's at the priority to high. So we can look at the priority right here by adding it to the view, the priority to the view here. Priority to view, and we go over here and save it, and we see that the priority is high. And it's red because from the conditional formatting, we said turn priority high here, red, turn priority red. So it's high priority. The due date's today. And presumably those emails went out to whoever was assigned to, Pavan and James. So that's the simple way to add another action in here. And those are very powerful ways to give streamlining and automation capabilities in real time to a ticket. Kind of interesting, huh? So we go back to the forms. We're here in this edit forms. One other thing we could do in the display form. Let me cancel and start all over again. Yeah, let's start this all over again on the tickets list and go to the forms. So here we're loading the forms tool for the tickets. Now we can see where on a display form we can actually add in a custom action right in place on the form itself. So there's all kinds of ways to make this happen. So we say, okay, let's put the form, maybe we don't want it up in the ribbon. Maybe we don't want it in the sidebar. We just want it right here at the top. So we're going to do a custom action, and we can do the escalate right there too and call it escalate. There's so many variations and possibilities here. It's really, really fun. So there you go like that, and you have the escalate there and publish it. So, and you could put that, as you could see, it somewhere place else in the form if you wanted, or down the bottom, like where we put in those save and close ones. So when we open this up, and now it's escalate there also, or it should. Oh, I think it's up here. There it is. Escalate, escalate. Oh, I must have done something wrong, but it's here. In a demo, and nothing always works all the time. But here, anyway, we have this escalate action right here now. So let's be just one of them, and that will show up the. That was another way to have an action right there. Okay, so we're getting up towards the top of the hour, and I don't want to take up everybody's time. We signed up for an hour for this webinar. There's many more features and capabilities to NITRO Studio. We're going to offer it for, email us. We'll let you know the price per site collection, per tenancy, per month. It's a subscription-based system, and it would go into the admin home. The way it works to install it is that you get the download of the trial, simple enough. You download the trial, you install it into your app catalog, then you activate it in a site collection. This is a site collection called Crow Canyon Nitro Applications, but it could be any site collection. Then in the site collection is of course the sites, and the sites are listed here in this NITRO Studio admin page. And then if you want to activate it for a site, in there you simply press activate. If you want to manage an existing site that's already been activated, such as we were just doing this customer service one, you can click manage, and then that gives you back that NITRO Studio screen that I was talking about here, that I was working from so much today, is that this customer service studio is now in this site of customer service, and but it is under the guise or umbrella of this site collection, and you can have it running in as many sites as you have a subscription for inside that site collection, and then have the set of apps going inside there. So here you have it. Very simple to install, get going on a trial, give it a test. And the way you would probably start, you might start with an existing site you already have. You might create an own site, add a few lists here and there, and then start configuring from there. So it really depends. Most important is to have some idea of what kind of application you want to produce and what kind of features you want to put into an existing application that NITRO Studio can amplify and enhance. So there's much more to it. With the short 1 hour, I only go into so much, but I'll be glad to answer any questions or talk to people directly about it. And we'll be going to several shows. We'll be in Houston, SharePoint Saturday, this coming Saturday. We'll be in Vegas for the big conference at the end of May. There's also conferences in New York, SharePoint Saturday, New York, one in LA in August, one in Seattle, SharePoint Fest in Seattle. So Crow Canyon is up and around and engaged in the community. Me, Scott Restivo, sometimes gives talks at these SharePoint Saturdays, and I'm giving a talk in Vegas. So we're very actively involved in community. We hope to hear from you. We look at this as a cooperative venture to develop this studio application to meet your needs. So any feedback, any direct engagement is very much invited. So let's continue the conversation. I thank you all for attending this webinar. I certainly can't cover all of Studio, so if you want to go into more of it, just let's have a conversation and stay in touch. We're at my email address, you can send it to sales@crowcanyon.com or scott.restivo@crowcanyon.com. Give us a call. We're very glad to hear from you. Thank you very much for attending, and we hope you have a nice rest of the day. Thank you.